The Light, Joseph S. Benner, paper number 36, December 1931. In this paper, the third anniversary of the inauguration of this particular phase of the Master's work, and likewise in the month that is the anniversary of his birth, we can find no more fitting way to celebrate than to talk about the wonderful light he brought to the world of men's mind. Remember, while he brought to us the light, he brought it because he is the light. St. John truly tells us this is the first chapter of the Gospel, how in him was the light of men, and that light is ever shining in the darkness. But the darkness of men's intellects prevent them from comprehending him, and thereby from knowing that he alone can lead them out of the darkness into the light they seek. And they do not comprehend because man's intellect cannot understand how Jesus can be the Word, the Logos, the light of men, and also be the man of Galilee, the son of Joseph and Mary, a man like unto us. For John quite plainly intimated that he was both man and God. Let us look closely at John's word. In the first sentence he says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." In view of what he later states, this can mean nothing less than that Jesus is not only the Word or Logos, but is God himself. And as we know that God is the source of all life, and John says that life is the light of men, it can only mean that Jesus in some mystical way must be God, come forth into the world to manifest himself as the light. That makes it not difficult to realize that light as being the wondrous truth that Jesus radiated in his life and actions and gave forth in his living words, and which has so penetrated the darkness of men's consciousness during the past 1900 years, that his light has now reached to the uttermost parts of the earth. Yes, despite the seeming great darkness that is now manifesting in the whole world, the light of Christ is so powerful and potent that before very long it will utterly dispel the darkness, proving the truth of the saying that it is darkest just before dawn. Can you grasp that? It must be only because of the presence of the powerful light that is now so dark. A powerful light always makes the darkest shadows. But when that light is brought closer, it diffuses itself so that it overspreads everything and drives out all darkness. Just that is taking place now. The light has become so powerful because the innumerable host of the forces of light is approaching close to the earth from the inner realms, and is so illuminating the minds of the children of light that the brilliance of their radiance is rapidly dispelling any darkness still existing in the minds of Christ's disciples, and causing all utter darkness to concentrate now only in mass shadows, ready for the final conflicts between light and darkness, and which makes the darkness appear darker than it really is. And who will say there can be any other outcome than victory for the forces of light? Make no mistake, those forces are close, very close. Many have seen them. Many are actually seeing the gathering of the great army of the Lord, clad all in white armor on white horses, with white banners flying and with faces lit with divine ardor, knowing what the result of the coming battle will mean to the world, the freeing it from sin, sickness, and death forever, permitting the kingdom to manifest on earth, even as it is in heaven. We tell you this now so that you may consciously prepare for your part in what awaits. In the November paper we said, you are the light. You who are conscious disciples of Christ. From what you have learned in the past few papers, you are now ready to take up real work, for you are able to bring your mind's consciousness back into your true consciousness, back into its light, where it sees and knows the truth, knows that all that is without is darkness, because born of the mind's belief in separation from God's consciousness. Knowing now that you are the light, part of the same light which Jesus was and is, for is he not back within and a part of the same consciousness where you are? Then the God of you can shine through, can take charge, and do all the work you came here to do. Remember, your mind has given to him its perfect trust. Therefore all you need to do is let him have complete charge, to trust him fully, and thus let your light shine. Yes, that is all you need do, to have your mind know the truth and hold itself ever in its light, to trust perfectly, and let the Christ of you do what he will with and through you. Then can you not see that it is through you and all the disciples of Christ that the forces of light will accomplish what they have come down on earth to do? For remember, your higher self is a soldier of this army of light, is one of those sons of God. They can work only through their human expression. Now you can see why we have been to all the pains to lead your mind out of the darkness of self's wrong belief into the light of your Christ consciousness. We have come to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe. Like John the messenger in our outer selves, we are not that light, but we are sent to bear witness of that light, the true light which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He came to his own, and few of his own received him. But as many as did receive him, to them gave he power to become sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. Remember, we are speaking of that light which Jesus was, and which we are in our true selves, that light which shines in the darkness of our human personalities, the light of our Christ self, the Holy Spirit of God which lighteth every man that cometh unto the world. For even as Jesus was God's Spirit, the Christ in expression, so are we. For is not God all in all? The only difference is that Jesus knew his Godhood, his oneness with the Father, and through that knowing he gave to the world the light it was then ready to receive. And ever since his light, through the truth which he taught and manifested, has been the light that has lighted men's mind down through the centuries, those that received and followed him. And to all who received him, that is, received the truth of the Christ Spirit, being both God in Jesus and God in them, he, the Holy Spirit in them, gave the power to know they were sons of God, even to those who believe in his name, or who enter their Christ consciousness and know their oneness with him. From this you will have perceived that by the light is meant the Christ consciousness, or the Holy Spirit of God, which dwells deep within the soul consciousness of every man, even though man does not know it. But you know it, and now we will show you another way you can contact and receive from that consciousness. Many of you have had the experience when meditating in the silence of finding before you could perfectly still your mind, there would flow into things you had forgotten or neglected to do, or you would be given a clear glimpse of a solution of some problem facing you, or the whereabouts of something lost. In other words, your mind now being quiet, it seemed to draw to itself the things you needed to know. Where did these things come from? Whence come the ideas to the inventor, the ideal picture to the mind of the artist, the inspiration to the poet, and the ability to express harmony to the musician? Many of these are inspired by mentors on the inner planes of being, you will say. And truly, for every soul has mentors and teachers in the unseen who are ever helping them when it is possible to get inspiration through to their minds. But back of them are all the higher selves of every soul, who in turn inspire and direct these helpers to do all that they do for their respective souls. But when a soul has evolved spiritually to the stage where the higher self descends and takes up his abode within the soul, and no longer overshadows it from above, then the higher self becomes the sole inner teacher and authority, and the soul knows this and causes its human mind to become more or less conscious of his presence, and to turn more and more within to him for guidance and instruction. This, as you know, is a stage of discipleship, and after much experience in meditation and receiving such guidance, gradually the disciple finds himself drawn within into the consciousness of the higher self, where he is given to see with his eyes, and to know with his understanding such things as he needs to know. You have been told this before, and many of you are able to enter that consciousness. But now we wish you to realize clearly what takes place when you enter your higher self or the Christ consciousness. We have called it the Christ consciousness, and that must mean that in the consciousness you then know your oneness with the Father. In other words, you have entered the kingdom of the divine mind, and are in the Father's consciousness, where you can tune in, as it were, with anything you need to know, for does not the Father know all things? But how can you tune in and thus receive anything you need to know? In just the way we described above, which is employed by every inventor, artist, poet, musician, and every disciple of Christ, whether or not they know the process we shall now describe. You will remember the experience while meditating of forgotten things and those you needed to do flowing into your mind as it grew quiet and reminding you of them. Just as your mind, by being stilled, thus releases your consciousness from outer things, are the unfinished and needed things of your consciousness likewise released. For in the soul or pure consciousness, as we have shown, everything is perfect and in the purest harmony. Therefore, when no longer interfered with by the outer mind, whatever is needed to restore harmony is released and flows into your consciousness. Likewise, if there is anything you need to know, and which will restore harmony when known, then all you need do is to focus your deep interest and attention upon that thing, and to hold your conscious alert, as if it were a funnel into which would be poured the knowledge you seek, knowing that by so doing, when impelled by strong desire, you tune in with its vibration, and it thus becomes one with your consciousness and will flow instantly to you. With practice, by such concentrated knowing and desiring, you become a powerful attracting magnet which will draw to you all things you need to know and have. The reason that this result is that all consciousness, that there is nothing that is not an idea in consciousness, and every idea is naturally a center of consciousness. Ideas differ only in their rates of vibration. Therefore, when you tune into and become harmonized with the vibration of any given idea, you instantly become one with its consciousness, and everything you need to know about it will flow from it into your mind. When you have learned by practice to do this, and it is possible to do this in this particular way only by a disciple, you will find it will come to you as a memory of something recalled from the storehouse of mind. It will come as a flash of illumination, as if a light poured into your mind and enabled you to see or remember again. This is entirely different from so-called inspiration, which implies that some other mind inspires or pours thoughts or words into your mind. And it is far different from automatic writing or definite teachings and actual words given you by invisible helpers. These come from mentors or teachers who are with you to help you just to the extent you make it possible, and you receive this help only when they can give it to you. The other way you can get it is through your own efforts, direct from the one source, divine mind, of which you know your consciousness is a part and with which it is always connected. So you can always receive it from whatever you need at any time. You will note that above we said that this knowledge came from the storehouse of mind, that you remembered and knew. How could you know if you had not learned it before? Why, of course you know, for are you not a son of God, who with all your brothers provide the consciousness of all men on earth? For are they not responsible for the earth and its humanity, and in whose consciousness dwells all knowledge pertaining to earth, and even to those realms beyond the earth up to and including the sun, the abode of God the Father? In other words, as a son of God, God's consciousness is your consciousness, as it is your brother's consciousness, and all in that consciousness is always available to you when you are able to connect up with it, as we have shown. Therefore, you are one of those who know, not one of those who have to be taught or told. Of course, however, you yourself must know this. But we have told you, and if something within responds, it is time for you to realize its truth, and for you to assume your real nature and to begin to think, speak, and act as a conscious Son of God. This brings us back to the light, for in the consciousness of your real nature, that of a Son of God, you are living in the light. In the consciousness all is light, for that consciousness is the light. It is the source, the essence, the real of all light. It is God's consciousness, the sun of all being. In that consciousness, then, there is no slightest shadow, for its light is so powerful and perfect that all God knows is plainly seen, known and is naturally the conscience of all who are in the light. From this you can understand what is the true light, that light whose ray is shining in the darkness of every man. For as all is consciousness, and there is only one consciousness, and that consciousness is the innermost of all human minds, which are but the outermost expression of that consciousness, you can now see how the light is ever shining deep back within every soul, even if the mind never comprehends it. But what is the occasion for the consciousness expressing itself on this dark planet Earth in the minds of men? It is because of God's love for his sons and his sons' sons, and they may receive of his life and may have it abundantly. Therefore he has been pouring the light of his love from the beginning through the hearts of his sons, giving them the fullness of his life and power, so that they in their turn can so quicken the conscience of their sons that the spark of light in their souls will glow and increase until it permits them to enter and abide in its light, and make of them living and immortal souls. Gradually, one by one, are they thus quickening and entering the souls of men, and their light is spreading over the earth until it will no longer be known among its sister orbs in the firmament of the heavens as a little red planet. But its light will shine with equal brilliancy with theirs, and it will take its place alongside of them in the holy fraternity of the celestial spheres. And who are these sons of God, also called sons of light and sons of mine by those who know? We have told you how in the beginning they came here to redeem the earth, their own progeny, how under the leadership of their great elder brother called the Christ, otherwise the light, they descended from the light of the Son of God's mind, bringing their light, to quicken the light in the conscience of every man upon the earth, to stay with these men, their own children, until their conscience had been lifted up into the light of their consciousness, and finally into the light of their Father's God consciousness. Can you see now how Jesus the Christ himself finally came to earth in his own person to shed sufficient of his light into the minds of men, that it will remain and be the quickening power ever coming from without, as the truth he taught and the example of his life he brought, to fan the spark of spirit within into a flame, and thereby cause the souls of men to awaken and listen, to understand and know the voice of the Christ, their higher self, when he speaks from within their hearts. Christ then is God's Holy Spirit, his divine love, the light made manifest upon earth, and now coming into evidence in the hearts and lives of the many men who listen to and follow his leading. He is not only the light that has shined down through the centuries as Jesus the Christ, and is now shining in all his pristine glory in the soul and higher realms of the kingdom, but he is the light that is shining in the heart of every man that has opened his heart to love. For he is the light of love, and every man who knows and follows love knows our blessed Master Jesus and follows him, and is known and loved by him. The law of harmony. In paper 33 we promise to give definite instructions how to speak effectively to the cells of your body, to your human mind, and to your soul, so that they will always render perfect service and produce for you any desired results. In that article we showed you how all consciousness in your body, mind, and soul is your consciousness, but it is also God's. And in that article above we showed you how to tune into the consciousness of any other idea or center of consciousness. Likewise, how in your soul or pure consciousness everything is perfect and in purest harmony. And then when you can free your consciousness from all awareness of outer things and can enter that soul consciousness of harmony, all the things causing inharmony would be released into the outer world of mind, and whatever is needed to restore the harmony would flow naturally and immediately to you. This is so because it is the law of harmony. Try to realize that the universe of God's world, with its many celestial and solar systems, operates under this same law of harmony, that should any one factor in the universe be out of harmony, it would disrupt the whole system and produce chaos. This means that you in reality are not out of harmony with it, that you must be doing what you do in accordance with the operation of this immutable law of harmony. Then what is it that appears so glaringly to you to be in harmony? What about pain, disease, poverty, crime, and unhappiness? Have we not told you that these exist only because of the wrong understanding and the untrue thoughts and feelings man persists in indulging in and in carrying around in his consciousness? They only appear to be out of harmony because of man's ignorance of the law, and his not knowing to what appears to be but the law of harmony operating in the keeping of every part of the universe always in perfect balance. If one swerves in his thinking from the perfect harmony of divine mind, action immediately and automatically sets up the human consciousness and causes what seems to be a disturbance of the existing harmony, when in fact it is but a switching or counterbalancing of forces in order to preserve and maintain that harmony. In other words, the law of harmony is always exerting pressure to force the consciousness back into its perfect state. And what seems to be in harmony is only the feeling caused by harmony pressing itself back into expression. Study this carefully until you get all of its inner meaning and application. When you get it, you will see that when man again thinks true thoughts, the supposedly inharmonious elements or conditions will instantly and automatically right themselves. Now let us see how we can apply this law to the freeing of your conscience of wrong outer things, especially when there is pain, disease, or suffering of any kind. First, you must realize that there is only one way, and that is by deliberately and determinedly picturing and seeing in your mind the opposite and the perfection of whatever is causing the pain, disease, or suffering. If there is pain or disease in the body, picture perfect health, strength, and harmony there. If there is mental suffering caused by conditions in your home or affairs, picture the opposite of such conditions, and see them manifesting perfectly and ideally in yourself, enjoying them to the fullest. Yes, you must actually do this. There is no other way to free yourself, to rise out of the untrue consciousness into which you would allow your interest to become involved. Remember, you are a soul or pure consciousness, and are not your physical body in its imperfect state as your human mind now sees it, and which has no part in your soul consciousness. But you, who have accompanied us all on these months, have long since gained such control of your mind that you will even in pain turn your attention away from it to anything you will. By thus filling your mind with these perfect pictures, you find that two things are accomplished. You counteract the effects of the wrong suggestion instilled in the cell consciousness of that part of your body where is the pain, flooding its consciousness with the light of truth, and you actually retire back into your soul consciousness where only harmony, purity, and perfection exist, thereby bringing the consciousness of both the cells of your body and of your mind into the harmony of your soul consciousness. When through practice you are able to prove this, you will see for yourself how the law of harmony operates, how when you have brought your mind and its consciousness, which controls the consciousness of the cells of your body, into perfect harmony with your soul consciousness, which, remember, you being a disciple is now one with your Christ consciousness, all seemingly inharmonious elements and conditions in the outer are released, and there flows into this place harmonious and happy elements, thus restoring all to their proper and natural condition. No, it will not be easy to prove this. It takes practice and failure to entirely to enjoy its fruits, which are freedom and self-mastery, and which mean mastery over body, mind, and soul. And you must do all we have indicated. Such fruits are not for the weak-minded or the easily discouraged, but only for the determined and unconquerable souls. In order to help, we are glad to give you some further suggestions. For instance, speak from the consciousness inspired by the truth we have declared to the cells of every part of your body in which there is pain or harmony as follows. Listen, my children, you are centers of my consciousness, not of that of my mortal mind, but of my soul consciousness. My soul is the outer reflection of God's consciousness, even as you are the outer reflection of my consciousness. This makes your consciousness a part of mine, and mine a part of God's, and means that your consciousness is actually God's consciousness. Now think. We see and know you as perfect, just as He created you in the beginning in His image and likeness. So know that you are not as my mind has wrongly believed and held you to be in the past, weak, sick, or in pain, but you are strong and healthy and are functioning always in perfect harmony. Now the truth, my children, and be free, free from all sense of separateness and error forever. Speaking these words of truth with positiveness and in the knowing of their truth will surely bring harmony to the self-consciousness of that before recognized and reported gain. Because through the power of pure truth, its consciousness has been lifted up to your consciousness, which dwells in the light of truth. And just as long as the self-consciousness is not dragged down again by your mind's memory of that pain, or even the thought of it, there will be harmony in that part of the body. Mind knowing and soul knowing. This brings us to the consideration of a very important factor in the knowing of truth. Have you grasped as yet the real purpose why we have tried so hard to explain to reason out all these inner truths step by step to you, so that you are now accepting them as spiritual facts? It is in order that your mind, which means its consciousness, will accept them. When it actually accepts and fully understands, they become a part of its consciousness and sink into its subconscious, where they automatically come forth for use whenever needed. You will remember, as a son of God, you already know these truths in your soul consciousness, but through these papers you have been unfolding them to your mortal mind, for no other purpose than for their use by your human personality, or that you can use them through it. For not until there has been brought about a union of its understanding with yours, of course, it would hinder and limit their use. Therefore, what you as a son of God have been doing from the beginning has bring the consciousness of your human mind into oneness with your consciousness, by teaching it through life's lessons the truth of its being, that it is not separate or different, weak, poor, sick, limited, or lacking in any way, But there is only one consciousness, one self, one life yours, which is one with your Father God's in heaven. We have been helping by teaching and impressing these truths upon your mind ever since you came with us. Now let us see if we can tell you why the necessity of so teaching your human mind when you know its truth in your soul. Can you not now see that all that is without exists only in the mortal mind's consciousness, as picture belief in their reality, and as they thus appear are not at all in your soul consciousness, where everything is ideal, all good, and all perfect? Then is it not absolutely necessary to cleanse your mind of all these untrue beliefs and replace them with the truth we have been so insistently pointing out to you, before it can come into your consciousness and see and know as you know? All its life your human reflection is believed in and has been fed upon air until it has become completely involved in a false consciousness, which it is thought to be real. All this error must be dug up and cast out in the mind, utterly freed from its demoralizing and stultifying influence. You can get nowhere while any of it remains a part of your consciousness. Until fully cleansed, it is wholly impossible to accomplish the real work you came here to do. So you have been little by little freeing the mind from these untruths until now. With the help of these teachings, it has come to a realization of it being but a reflection, a part of your divine consciousness, and it is willing to give up and let you take complete charge and do your will in and through it. Yes, it is willing to give up, even eager to do it, but it finds it cannot do it easily. Yet it sees that it must do it. And now listen, for here is the vital part of the message. Not until the mind not only does give up, but deliberately and consciously applies these truths here in the outer life, in all of its thinking, speaking, and acting, cleanses its consciousness of all error and turns its attention wholly to you within, seeing and knowing only the truth of its oneness with you, with Christ, and with God, can it be freed from its sense of separation, enter the kingdom, and receive of its divine heritage. End of paper.